Snow battered the wooden walls of the trading post, a relentless storm howling like an angry beast outside. Inside, the warm glow of the fireplace flickered, casting long shadows on the faces of Samuel and Elena Whitmore. They huddled close, trying to shelter their 6-year-old daughter, Lily May, from the cold that seeped through the cracks in the walls. The thick smell of wood smoke mingled with the scent of damp wool, creating an atmosphere heavy with both worry and weariness. Lily May, her breath fogging the glass, pressed her small nose against the window, watching the world outside. Through the swirling snow, she saw a native woman cradling a tiny baby, their outlines barely discernible amid the storm. The woman's face, though tired and frightened, emanated a fierce protectiveness that resonated with Lily May's own instinctual need to care. "Papa, look," she whispered, tugging at Samuel's coat. "The baby is so cold." Samuel turned, his brow furrowed. "It's not our place to get involved, Lily. We have our own family to worry about." His voice was firm, but faltered slightly as he saw the desperation in his daughter's wide blue eyes. "But he's freezing," her voice trembled, echoing her urgency. "He needs my blanket. He looks scared." Eleanor felt her heart clench. "Sweetheart, it's dangerous out there," she said softly, wrapping her arms around Lily May, pulling her closer. "You can't just give away your blanket. It's all we have." Tears brimmed in Lily May's eyes. "But Mama, he's just like me. He's just a baby." Outside, the wind howled again, and the baby's faint cries drifted in through the cracks, a haunting echo that gripped Lily May's heart. She could see the baby's lips turning a shade of blue, and her resolve hardened. This wasn't just about warmth. It was about life and death. Samuel moved to the window, drawn by the sounds that twisted in the wind. He drew the curtain shut with a sharp tug. "Stop looking," he commanded, but his voice lacked its usual authority, betraying his own helplessness. Lily May felt a fire ignite within her. This was not just about the blanket. It was a choice, one that would defy everything she had been taught about survival. She glanced at the small patch of blue fabric draped over her shoulders, the last gift from her grandmother, a shield against the cold. The thought of letting it go gnawed at her, but the baby's stillness pulled at something deeper. That night, sleep eluded her. The wind's cries seemed to morph into the whimper of the baby. The darkness pressed in, heavy with uncertainty. But Lily May lay wide awake, a sense of purpose blooming in her chest. She swung her legs over the side of the bedroll, careful not to disturb her parents. With each quiet step toward the door, her heart raced. Outside, the world was buried under thick layers of snow. The moment she opened the door, icy air rushed in, but it couldn't compare to the cold spreading inside her as she faced the dying baby. Lily May approached the native woman, who looked up in surprise, her expression a blend of confusion and hope. The woman clutched her child tightly against her chest, the flicker of the lantern outside illuminating the mother's eyes, revealing their depth of despair. With trembling hands, Lily May extended the blanket toward the woman, her small voice barely breaking through the wind. "Here," she managed, her words tumbling out like fragile snowflakes. "He needs this." The woman's eyes widened, flickers of disbelief dancing through her expression. She hesitated, uncertainty clouding her features. But the moment the soft blue fabric made contact with the baby's icy skin, something changed. The native mother's face softened, tears spilling down her cheeks as she enveloped her child in the warmth of the blanket. She whispered something, words that flowed like a gentle stream, filled with gratitude. The sound was foreign, yet beautiful, wrapping around Lily May like a warm hug. At that moment, Samuel's voice sliced through the storm. "Lily May!" His footsteps crunched through the snow as he approached, horror etched across his face. "Get away from them now!" Fear rippled through Lily May, but she stood firm, rooted in her decision. The baby nestled closer to its mother, the warmth already restoring life to the child's pale skin. "Look," the mother said urgently to Samuel, her voice shaking but resolute. "The child is warm now. You must understand." Elena rushed forward, reaching for her daughter, concern carving lines in her brow. "What were you thinking? You could have frozen out there." Lily May looked back, her breath visible in the cold air. "But he was cold, Mama," she insisted, her voice steady. "He needed me." "Sometimes kindness puts us in danger," Samuel warned, his voice thick with emotion. "What if the others come back for revenge? You've made a choice we can't afford." But as the native woman cradled her son, she spoke again, her voice stronger this time. "You don't know what this means. You saved him." The words hung in the air, transforming the tension into something fragile and electric. Without warning, Morrison, the gruff owner of the trading post, appeared at the door, his expression shifting from irritation to disbelief. "What in hell is going on out here?" he barked, but the sight before him silenced his anger, eyes darting between the child and the strangers. "Get that baby inside, now!" he commanded, his voice booming against the howling winds. But the native mother stood her ground, defiance sparking in her eyes. "We will not hide! This child has been given a chance!" Her grip tightened around the bundled form, a fierce protectiveness radiating from her slender frame. Morrison's brow furrowed, uncertainty creeping in. "You think this changes anything? You think they'll just let it go?" His gaze darted back towards the tree line, shadows twisting and dancing in the flickering lantern light. The threat of their adversaries lingered like smoke in the frigid air, unspoken but palpable. Lily May's heart raced, the weight of her actions settling upon her shoulders like a heavy yoke. She glanced at Samuel, searching for support. "They won't come for him. Not tonight," she asserted, her voice rising above the wind's howl, emboldened by the mother's steadfast resolve. Elena took a step closer, her worry morphing into a simmering anger. "This isn't your battle to fight. What do you know of their world? This is about survival." "I know about love," Lily May shot back, her voice fierce and unwavering. "This is about saving someone who needs it more than we do." As the wind whipped around them, the flicker of the lantern caught the edge of the blanket, illuminating the intricate stitching of her grandmother's handiwork, each thread a testament to warmth, resilience, and sacrifice. It was a symbol of hope, stitched with care, and its loss would not erase its legacy. Morrison's expression darkened, but a subtle flicker of respect crossed his features. He turned to the native woman, the weight of understanding passing between them, though neither would speak it aloud. "Fine, but don't think for a second you've escaped their wrath." "Let them come," the mother said, her voice steady like the pulse of the earth beneath the snow, her words a shield of bravery against the cold reality. The tension hung thick in the air, electric and charged. Behind them, A faint rustling sound broke the silence, the telltale crack of branches snapping underfoot. Lily May spun around, heart pounding. The shadows deepened, growing larger, shifting with the wind. She could feel the presence of watchers, unseen eyes tracing their actions like a predator stalking its prey. "We need to go, all of us," Samuel urged, eyes scanning the woods. "If they're here." But the native mother shook her head, clutching her baby tighter. "I won't leave. Not now. Not after what you've done." The air crackled with unresolved tension, as if the very fabric of their lives were woven together at that moment. A thread connecting disparate worlds, hearts beating in unison against the frost. Each person felt the weight of their choices, the gravity of compassion and fear coiling tightly around them. Lily May took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "Then we stand together. We fight together." She met the eyes of the native woman, and in that moment, a bond was forged, one that transcended language and lineage, stitched together by the same thread of humanity. And as the wind howled in protest, the shadows deepened around them. An unyielding force against the cold, they prepared to face whatever was coming, united against the storm. A sudden gust of wind sent a shiver down Lily May's spine, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and distant smoke. The old barn, creaking in protest behind them, seemed to lean closer, as if eager to eavesdrop on their resolve. The silhouettes of the trees swayed ominously, their branches clawing at the dark sky, while a flickering lantern cast long shadows that danced like spectres at the edge of their gathering. Morrison stepped forward, teeth clenched, and his silhouette loomed large against the flickering light. "You may think you're fighting for something noble, but out there is a different kind of beast," he warned, his voice low and grave. "You're inviting trouble, and it won't just be you that pays the price." Lily May felt the weight of his words, but they settled like iron in her gut, heavy yet grounding. "Then let it come," she replied, more fiercely than she intended. "We can't keep running. Not any more." Her gaze flickered to the native mother, who stood tall, the baby cradled like a cherished secret against her chest. Elena's voice cracked, a sharp edge betraying her fear. "And what if your bravery gets us all killed? What if this child becomes the reason we lose everything?" Her hand trembled slightly, brushing against the aged wood of the barn door, as if seeking reassurance. "Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's standing firm in spite of it," the native woman countered, her voice steady as the ground beneath their feet. "This child is a chance for more than just survival. It is a bridge between our worlds." Her eyes glinted, reflecting the lantern light like shards of ice, fierce and unyielding. Just then, a howl echoed from the tree line, haunting and wild, a sound that sent a ripple of dread through the group. They all turned, hearts racing in synchrony. Lily May felt the blood drain from her face, but she refused to back down. "If they want to take him, they'll have to go through us first." The rustling intensified, a cacophony of movement in the underbrush. Samuel took a step closer to Lily May, his hand brushing against her arm, a silent promise of solidarity. "We're not backing down. Not now. Not ever," he murmured, barely audible over the roar of the wind. Morrison's shoulders tensed, the fight within him colliding with the instinct to protect. He glanced at the child, the flickering light revealing an innocent face, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around him. "Damn it, this is insane," he muttered, but the defiance in his voice held a thread of reluctant respect. "Fine. If we're doing this, we do it smart. We gather our strength." The shadows crept closer, inching forward with insidious intent, and the air thickened with the scent of pine and anticipation. They formed a tight circle, their breaths mingling with the cold night air as the darkness pooled around them like an unspoken threat. "Together," Lily May whispered, her voice barely audible, yet firm enough to bridge the gap of uncertainty. And as each heart beat in rhythm, the silence deepened, wrapping them in an embrace that was equal parts fear and fierce hope. With the wind howling their battle cry, they stood on the precipice of a choice, a single thread binding them in that stark moment, a thread woven from love, resilience, and the courage to face what lay ahead. The ground beneath them trembled as if echoing their resolve, each heartbeat thudding in time with the relentless wind. A pair of owls hooted softly, their eyes glinting like watchful sentinels amid the chaos, keeping vigil over the fragile gathering. The trees, now swaying violently, seemed to whisper secrets of old, tales of survival and sacrifice etched into their gnarled bark. Morrison glanced toward the darkened woods, his brow furrowing. "We need to set up defenses," he insisted, the urgency in his tone sharpening like a knife's edge. "If they're coming for us, we can't be caught unaware." Elena's gaze darted nervously to the barn's rickety door, flapping against its hinges. "What do you suggest? We can't build a fortress out of splinters." The doubt in her voice was palpable as her fingers traced the worn grain of the wood, searching for an anchor amid the rising tide of fear. The native woman stepped forward, resolute. "We don't need walls. We need unity. Let them come, but let us be ready." Her words hung in the air, charged with a spirit that ignited something dormant within the others. "We can use the land around us, the old well to trap them, the brush to hide our movements." Lily May felt a flicker of hope ignite, stoked by the fire in the native woman's voice. "We can weave our defenses like a net, strong enough to hold them," she added, determination rising in her chest. "If we stand together, we can outsmart them. They may come with fury, but we'll meet them with strategy." Morrison nodded slowly, his mind shifting gears, the tension in his shoulders easing just a touch. "All right then. Samuel, gather what you can find. We need sturdy branches, anything that might serve as a weapon." He turned to Lily May, a newfound trust in his gaze. "You and Elena, work on setting traps. We'll use the well to lure them in." The wind shrieked around them, but the group moved with a burgeoning sense of purpose, each step echoing with the promise of defiance. As they split up, the lantern's flickering light illuminated the determination etched on their faces, casting them as heroes in a tale yet to unfold. Lily May knelt beside the barn, her fingers brushing through the dirt, digging to find remnants of strength where once only fear had flourished. She felt the weight of the child in her heart, a tether to a future worth fighting for. "We will protect him. We will protect each other," she whispered to the earth, the words a silent vow. As the rustling grew closer, thick with the anticipation of an approaching storm, the air charged with an electric tension. With every heartbeat, they wove their thread tighter, stitching together hope and courage until the darkness that loomed felt less like an end and more like a beginning, a raw, unyielding promise of a fight worth having. With the wind howling their battle cry, they stood on the precipice of a choice, a single thread binding them in that stark moment, a thread woven from love, resilience, and the courage to face what lay ahead. The ground beneath them trembled as if echoing their resolve, each heartbeat thudding in time with the relentless wind. A pair of owls hooted softly, their eyes glinting like watchful sentinels amid the chaos, keeping vigil over the fragile gathering. The trees, now swaying violently, seemed to whisper secrets of old, tales of survival and sacrifice etched into their gnarled bark. Morrison glanced toward the darkened woods, his brow furrowing. "We need to set up defenses," he insisted, the urgency in his tone sharpening like a knife's edge. "If they're coming for us, we can't be caught unaware." Elena's gaze darted nervously to the barn's rickety door, flapping against its hinges. "What do you suggest?" "We can't build a fortress out of splinters." The doubt in her voice was palpable as her fingers traced the worn grain of the wood, searching for an anchor amid the rising tide of fear. The native woman stepped forward, resolute. "We don't need walls. We need unity. Let them come, but let us be ready." Her words hung in the air, charged with a spirit that ignited something dormant within the others. "We can use the land around us, the old well to trap them, the brush to hide our movements." Lily May felt a flicker of hope ignite, stoked by the fire in the native woman's voice. "We can weave our defenses like a net, strong enough to hold them," she added, determination rising in her chest. "If we stand together, we can outsmart them. They may come with fury, but we'll meet them with strategy." Morrison nodded slowly, his mind shifting gears, the tension in his shoulders easing just a touch. "All right then, Samuel, gather what you can find. We need sturdy branches, anything that might serve as a weapon." He turned to Lily May, a newfound trust in his gaze. "You and Elena work on setting traps. We'll use the well to lure them in." The wind shrieked around them, but the group moved with a burgeoning sense of purpose, each step echoing with the promise of defiance. As they split up, the lantern's flickering light illuminated the determination etched on their faces, casting them as heroes in a tale yet to unfold. Lily May knelt beside the barn, her fingers brushing through the dirt, digging to find remnants of strength where once only fear had flourished. She felt the weight of the child in her heart, a tether to a future worth fighting for. "We will protect him. We will protect each other," she whispered to the earth, the words a silent vow. As the rustling grew closer, thick with the anticipation of an approaching storm, the air charged with an electric tension. With every heartbeat, they wove their thread tighter, stitching together hope and courage, until the darkness that loomed felt less like an end and more like a beginning. A raw, unyielding promise of a fight worth having. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the hills, a distant growl that sent shivers down their spines. The ground vibrated underfoot, not from the wind, but from something larger, a beast lurking just beyond their view. Morrison exchanged a worried glance with the others, the weight of unspoken fears pressing down like a heavy blanket. "We have to hurry," he urged, pointing towards the barn's shadow. "We can't let them catch us off guard." A flash of lightning illuminated the landscape, revealing the crumbling fence that bordered the pasture, the splintered wood clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. The barn loomed behind them, a silent guardian of their frail hopes, while the darkness ahead writhed, a living tapestry of unknown threats. They moved swiftly, hearts pounding in a synchronized rhythm, as determination surged through their veins like wildfire. Elena knelt to gather brambles, her fingers deftly weaving the sharp thorns into a makeshift barricade, each twist a promise of resilience against the encroaching night. The air shimmered with the scent of damp earth and pine needles, a reminder that life persisted even in the face of fear. Together, she breathed, as much for herself as for her companions, the mantra, a lifeline tethered to the past, anchoring them in the present. The howling wind carried the sound of rustling leaves, a rustle that morphed into a murmur, calling forth the memories of those who had fought and fallen before. Each heartbeat echoed with their legacy, reminding Lily May that this moment was not just hers, but belonged to every soul who had ever stood against the tide. And as the shadows deepened, enveloping them in a cloak of uncertainty, she felt the thread of courage stretching taut, binding them tighter, not just against the impending storm, but against the darkness within themselves, drawing strength from one another, like the roots of the ancient trees standing steadfast against the gale. A heavy thud reverberated through the ground as Samuel returned, lugging a gnarled branch that looked more like a weapon of desperation than a tool for survival. He dropped it with a grunt, panting slightly, his cheeks flushed with urgency. "This'll do, I reckon," he said, wiping sweat from his brow, the scent of metal and rust lingering in the air around him. Morrison stepped forward, inspecting the makeshift weapon with narrowed eyes. "It'll have to. We'll sharpen the ends. A point can turn the tide in close quarters." He glanced at the others, and in that instant, a flicker of something unnameable passed between them. A shared understanding, a mutual resolve that spoke louder than words. In the distance, the sky crackled with electric anticipation, the clouds thickening like a storm, gathering strength, mirroring their own mounting dread. The barn creaked ominously, its timbers protesting against the rising winds, a reminder that even the strongest structures held their fears behind rotting walls. Elena finished weaving her barricade, stepping back to survey her work. The brambles twisted like a snarl of barbed wire, sharp enough to deter even the most determined intruder. "Let's hope it's enough," she murmured, glancing at Lily May, who was still kneeling by the earth, her brow furrowed deep in thought. Lily May picked up a handful of dirt, letting it slip through her fingers like grains of time, grounding herself in the present as the weight of the past hung heavy on her chest. "We're not just protecting this land," she said quietly, almost to herself. "We're fighting for what it means to be alive, to have a choice." The wind howled again, carrying with it the scent of rain, a promise of chaos. A lone crow cawed overhead, perched atop the barn, its silhouette stark against the darkening sky. Morrison squinted up at the creature, the tension tightening around them like a noose. "A bad omen," he muttered, shaking his head as if to dispel the thought. Yet, even as doubt flickered like the lantern's flame, Lily May felt something stir within her, an ember of defiance that pushed back against the suffocating fear. She rose, brushing the dirt from her hands, a fierce glint igniting in her eyes. We're not backing down. Whatever comes, we face it together." In that moment, the rumble of thunder rolled through the air, a deep growl that resonated with the core of their resolve. They gathered closer, forming an unbreakable circle beneath the flickering lantern light.